It is showtime. Thank you so much for making time and joining us right here on In Focus, a show that comes your way every Sunday from 9 p.m. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. It is an interactive program where we get to talk to you as you also get to share your thoughts on the feedback that is coming from this particular program. All you need to do is tweet us and use the hashtag InFocusRW. Tonight on the program, we are going to be talking about the issue of the heavy rains that have been causing havoc, not just in Rwanda. Let's take a look at some of the images, some of the videos are showing some of the incidents that we've been able to see across different parts of the world. You know, the rains have been wreaking havoc in Kenya. The rains have also been wreaking havoc in parts of East Africa, as you can see on your screens right there. This is Kenya, of course, sweeping several property. We have vehicles which have been swept away. Lives have also been lost. And of course, this is something that we'll be taking a look into right here on the program. Of course, Rwanda too has not been left out as far as these rains are concerned. We'll be talking about this particular matter. How can we avoid such kind of issues? Do we have a proper prevention and management plan as far as disaster management is concerned, emanating from the floods as far as the rains are concerned? These are some of the things we'll be talking about right here on the program. Let's take a look at some of the things that people have already been talking about concerning this particular matter. Stacy, who's already tweeting, and she says we expect more on preventive measures. Of course, this is something that most people are actually eager to hear from the Ministry of Disaster Management. And of course, we'll be looking also at what Alain Shuti is saying. Alain Shuti says REMA should develop storm water management program guidelines that will be implemented nationwide. This will help us control stormwater runoff. Moreover, Meteor Rwanda should collect and publish data of recent and past precipitation events. Of course, this, he says, will help civil engineers to do their design. We'll be able to look at the capacity of Meteor Rwanda as far as these issues are concerned. I have one also here from Safari E. Kevin, who actually has posted a video right there. And Safari is asking, where is this and what are we doing to prevent this from happening again? Of course, landslides, and of course, he that we're talking about disasters here on the program. I can tell you for sure this is not Rwanda. That was in Mombasa about a year ago. So keep tweeting. All I'm going to be doing is follow the hashtag InFocusRW. So you just add that particular hashtag and I'll be able to read your tweets as they come. Let me now introduce our panelists in the program tonight. We have the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Disaster Management and Refugee Affairs, Olivier Kayumba. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you too.
I must say thank you for accepting to come on the show on such short notice.
No problem.
Asante sana. Also with us is Esther, who is the Director of Development Management at URPHSA. Esther, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right. Also with us is Dr. Peter Bazimya, who is the CEO of Rwanda Urban Planners Association. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Bazimya. Quite a long time.
Welcome.
Yes. Karibu sana on the program. Let's get into it. PS, people are wondering, of course, there are different numbers that have been flashed out there as far as those who have been devastated by the heavy rains that we've been able to see even in the intro video we've had right there. Some are saying 18, others are saying 200. What is the correct number as far as the death toll is concerned from the people who have lost their lives out of the disaster caused by the heavy rains we're experiencing?
Thank you, Eugene. The data we have as of 10th May, we have 215 people who lost their lives.
215.
In Rwanda. 215. Yes.
So these 215, these are lives. Even one death is actually more than enough. This death, could they have been avoided, in your opinion?
Yes, partly, and no partly.
Why
because
partly?
We have a specific period of heavy rain, probably due to climate change and other situations that we cannot control, the nature we cannot control. On the other side, we could avoid if people who are in high-risk zone, who were really at risk, would have accepted to get out of the high-risk zone. We have around, before this heavy rain, we have around 40,000 households who were identified by Rwanda Housing. But so far, it's a matter of mindset. they've refused to get out of their high-risk zone. But now, with the recent effects, with the government decided to not really forcefully, but to continue convincing them
to move from those high-risk areas.
Yes.
Esther, listening to the PS, he says partly, of course, we'll come back on another round to tell us more about that particular statement you've made. PS says partly these lives could have been saved. We could have avoided these deaths, over 200 out of these floods. What rings in your mind when you hear that we could have done that, but it was not possible to actually avoid those lives? 215 people have actually lost their lives out of this disaster.
Yeah, thank you very much. As you have said, even one life is really meaningful, and then to lose one person, then that is a serious issue. And then hearing someone whose responsibility to us is to have protected life and says it could have been, you know, protected, but we didn't do enough. So I have to say, as a citizen, then people are supposed to trust in the government. We are supposed to say the government is right there protecting us, looking over us. And then they're saying that it could have been, you know, protected. And I have to say, then why didn't they do anything? Why did they have to wait till someone loses their lives to come here and say, then we could have done better. Yes.
Right. This is what you think. Dr. Bazimia, listening to the two, of course, speaking from what the PS has just said, what can you say about that?
Thank you very much for inviting us to this unfortunate disaster kind of program. I would start by saying we should understand what the word disaster, because that was waiting to happen. That's why it's called a disaster. Now, it's unfortunate that lives were lost, which could have been prevented. But in the first place, where do you have those disasters happening? In what kind of areas? What kind of environments? And can we say the people were told it is likely to happen and they said no, and we just kept quiet until it happened? Therefore, I always believe the government has very good intentions for all citizens.
Right.
And I think it's unfortunate that happened, but it could have been prevented in many ways. It could have been
prevented. P.S. He brings a question, and of course also Esther here says, you know, did we know where the problem could have occurred, and especially this movement of these people that you just mentioned, and then did we just sit back and say, you know what, we have told them to move, they have refused to move? I mean, this is something that someone somewhere might not really comprehend, because Esther says it is the role of the government in whatever means and capacity to actually protect any life. So this 40,000 and the people you're saying that still have a mindset of not wanting to move from high-risk areas. So what is the government doing? Do we fold our hands and say, we told them, they refused, so disaster has happened, which we were not able to control, yet we had told them to do it?
No, I think you got me wrong. I didn't say that we asked them to remove, to get out of that place, and they refused. Then this is what happened. No, we are in a situation where we have heavy rain that occurred during this period, and we have places where we couldn't imagine that these effects would have happened. We are talking, unfortunately, about 215 people who lost their lives. But we're also talking about roads, bridges, crops,
infrastructure.
Yes. We have a heavy loss that we are registering, and right now the government is working on how to assist the people who lost the families of people who lost their lives, how to assist districts who are no longer connected, how to assist the roads. I mean, we have national roads, we have district roads, and we have where people could not get even to the hospital right now because of these roads. So we have a major issue that we are dealing with right now. So we are not talking about people who would have prevented it right now. Is that not the question? Right now is how to assist these people who are in high-risk zone. The Right Honorable Prime Minister made it right. We don't want again, until the rain stops by the end of May, we don't want people again to
lose their lives.
That one is a clear message, and even before we had that message, but this is now too heavy because the high-risk zone is growing up. We had bad constructions, of course, that we're counting. By that time, we were talking about 40,000, but we have even landslide that we couldn't imagine. The topography of the countries is also a reason why we're having this landslide. So it's a major and complicated case that we are dealing with right now.
But someone listening to you, someone would say that you're throwing in the towel, you're surrendering, you're saying, you know what, our topography is already prone to these kind of disasters. What can we do? Because the problem here is some people feel that we are a reactory. We react, we do not prevent. We wait, disaster strikes, then we start saying we're now looking at how to help these people. But why don't we put up, because you seem to know where the problems are. So why isn't there a stronger prevention mechanism that would prevent these disasters from happening so that we mitigate the losses that we see today?
We are talking about the current situation. That one is done, and up to the top, the Prime Minister talked about it. We are no longer coming back on these issues, though we are trying to manage, and we have people on the terrain who are trying to move people from the high-risk zone. We are submitting a budget tomorrow, or probably, or the day after tomorrow, including infrastructure, including crops, damages, everything. We are trying to mitigate the effects as of today. Then you're asking, what did we do before? We have a set of framework that we have. We have policies, we have strategies, we have laws that are in place. And as the Ministry of Disaster Management and Refugees, we do make, in collaboration, of course, with these stakeholders, we have the Ministry of Infrastructure. In the Ministry of Infrastructure, we have the Rwanda Housing itself. We have even other stakeholders that we are not directly. All those institutions are getting losses in this disaster. So we are working together to find the ways with these policies. We give them what we think, and then they do implement. At times, I'm not talking about REG or Rwanda Housing. I'm not their spokesperson, but somewhere they fail probably to have these mitigating factors while they are constructing. But I'm not a technician. I would like also for them to tell us if they really got in touch or they did read the recommendation that we gave and to avoid
do you feel let down by these stakeholders, these partners? I mean, without being diplomatic, of course,
I can't say
about
that.
saving lives.
I can't say that. I can't say that.
So everybody is doing what they're supposed to do.
Everyone is doing what he's supposed to do.
But initially you said somewhere, somehow, some of them failed to actually implement the recommendations.
When you have people in high-risk zone,
yes,
like these cases of the districts of Nyarugenge, we have people in Monkey Gully who, after calls from the district, they have failed to move. I mean, that's why we say somewhere something is going wrong. Yes, but at the end, the district, the population, have to take responsibility over that.
Right.
Even the Ministry of Disaster Management, we have to push on the calls to these authorities.
Right. Esther, listening to what the PS says, where do you see the missing link? Where do you see the gaps? Where do you see probably this is where there is a failure? Do you feel a failure in the area of prevention? Do you feel his explanation is satisfactory on the efforts they've done?
Disaster, I think, aftermath is recovery responses. That is where we are putting much of the efforts. And according to what the PS said, he actually emphasized, there is something I want to comment on, when he said that they are trying to get people moved from the high-risk zones. But then again, the question comes to my mind, when they tell them to actually leave their homes, they have known their whole lives. Where did they tell them to go, and then do they have the means to go there? Because we have to also consider that the majority, we have a big number of people living under the poverty line. Then if you tell them to move, then that is going to bring in the issues of money, the issues of finding the other houses. And I would say this is not the first time we've had the heavy rains, because in 2005 and then 2007, the same thing happened, though it wasn't as bad as it is right now, but it happened. And when I try to think of these things, I'm like, when the people actually in charge saw this happening, they're in charge of forecasting, for overseeing what is going to happen in the future, because we have people, there is someone I know, she's not educated, she doesn't know how to read and write, but she has the ability to look at the sky and say, you know what, today I think that the rain is going to fall. It happens. She has a way of knowing. And I say then the experts who have all the education, they should know this thing is going to happen over this time. It's not now or it's not tomorrow maybe, but we believe that in this certain amount of time it's going to happen. Then as the experts, as the multi-sectors,
they should be able to do better.
Exactly. They should be able to do better. And I say, really, it could have been prevented if people had put in more efforts. So, yes, that is.
Let me answer that. You know, we have the case of Sebeya River, for example. We have the catchment which are protected. We have downward, all the way up to Nyundo schools and whatever. All those areas are protected. But with the data we had, I mean, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Infrastructure, everyone went in and protected that area. But it's sort of unfortunate that we had too much water that we couldn't canalize properly according to the data we had, and then these are the results that we got. We did everything. I mean, we have a recommendation from the Ministry of Disaster Management. We have the Ministry of Infrastructure that did something. We have the district which did something, but at the end, we got caught up with the heavy rain. We couldn't imagine that.
So you are not able to control that aspect. As an urban planner, as an expert on planning issues, where do you see even those who gave these stakeholders the data that he says, you know, they were caught unawares? Whatever planning in terms of the data they had been given, man, it just came beyond what they had expected. Where do you see the gaps?
Is being caught unaware an excuse? Now, when you put in place a plan to foresee, to foretell, and then you are caught unaware, have we done the proper planning? The reason I ask is this. I wish Minifra was here. I wish Rwanda Housing was here. And I wish, even if they were not here, I wish they would be ready to participate in the open debate. So that strategies like the one he's talking about, the plan that he's talking about, can be questioned. For example, he's using the place called Nyundo. If there was so much water that they were caught unaware, did they foretell? Meteorology does foretelling.
Forecasting, yes.
Minifra does foretelling. Mindimar does foretelling. Was the foretelling correct? And I think the answer is no.
The answer is no.
So, in short, do we have a concerted strategy that is contributed by everyone? Sat with the ministry? Have the ministries sat together? Have they talked to the local people? Who, by the way, are more knowledgeable than most of us who sit in the office. They know when the rain is come. We are told by the meteorology department that rains will be too heavy. What does it mean? What do they tell us? What do they tell the district, the ministries? Where is it likely to occur When is it likely to occur? How much damage is foreseen? And I think all this goes into planning.
Right. It goes into planning.
Yes.
P.S. is you sit and wait for those who are supposed to give you data to give you the data. They feed you with the data, whether it is correct or not correct. There seems to be no, probing of this data so that you're not caught unawares, as you say. I mean, is this a proper notion if we take it like that?
No, I want to react on that issue. We have planning, and unfortunately, we don't have the Minister of Infrastructure or the Rwanda Housing here to say it. But we have all the situation at hand. Then, as the Right Honorable Prime Minister was saying, at some point, we have to get a huge budget, and we cannot have that huge budget. We are talking about Sebe, but we are talking about other rivers in the northern part, because the northern part and the western part of the country, that's where we have a huge percentage of the disaster we are encountering right now. We have in the cities and new developing cities to have all the drainage system, to have all the roads respecting the planning we have. It takes a huge.
So you're saying here on this show that what is challenging you today is budgetary.
We talked about many issues. We talked about people not respecting regulations and constructions. But we are talking about to have a combined effort. We need a huge budget
So
of
if
money.
this budget doesn't come today, tomorrow if the rains come again, we expect the same results.
Even in the past,
Yes.
it was not available. We have other opportunities at one to come up, but of course we have growing population, we have cities which are expanding. All those issues have to be taken care of, and we think twice when we want to blame someone. We think twice. Do we have enough fund for that?
So in the
Of
meantime,
course, unfortunately,
Yes.
we have loss of life.
Yes,
That
yes.
one is unacceptable. That
Yes.
one is unacceptable.
Yes.
I agree with you. But at certain point, we have this landslide that takes lives of people, but we cannot have everywhere walls to stop the landslide. I mean, it takes a combined effort of funds that we don't have right now.
right.
Even in the past.
Listening as I mean, what does that make you feel when you hear that indeed budget is playing a key role here in terms of helping in prevention mechanism, which the PS says we seem not to have enough to actually do that? I mean, what does that make you feel?
As I said before, the role of the government is to protect its citizens. And what I believe the PS is doing right now, he's looking in the eyes of all Rwandans who are following or who are going to even follow the next time. He's saying that, you know what, you've lost your people, you've lost your family members, but hey, you know what, even tomorrow or the next day, you're going to lose even more people, because we don't have the money. And as a Rwandan, as a citizen, that is not the message I want to hear right now, because I've lost enough already. I don't want to lose more. And I would really, really hope that the people in charge do actually more than just telling me we can't do more than this. What we have done so far is what we can do. So I would rather say we are working on this. We're actually trying to bring in even more money. We're doing all the means we can to assure you that we're going to protect your people, your lives.
Right.
Yes.
I think,
Yes,
I think that's what I said. I'm not saying that we are doing nothing. I said right now we have teams on the terrain, and even this afternoon I was in a meeting. We are trying to get initial budget, immediate budget before the end of the financial year to cater for all these effects we are having. Of course, we're not talking about people who died right now. We are talking about people who have to be removed or relocate from high-risk zones. We have to bridges that have been damaged, we have to repair them, at least the minimum, so that next year, next budget year, we get more money. We have, other than bridges, we have roads, national roads, district road. We have equipment from REG. We have equipment from WASAC, which are being repaired even right now. I think teams of REG and WASAC are on the terrain right now to mitigate the effect that got damaged from the rain. That's what we're talking about right now.
Right. The issue here, PS, again, before I bring them in again, is every year we all know that we have a rainy season. You know, of course, today we have climate change where, you know, the patterns are changing here and there. But we know that this is going to happen. Why is it that we are always playing catch up? The rain comes, it sweeps away homes, we have landslide, Nyabugogo happens, Nyabarongo happens, you know, the other places happen. And after these rainy seasons, we get to another season where we have drought. It's a cycle. Why are we not reading the writings on the wall? Why are we not reading the signs? Why are we not preparing adequately to avoid these things? I mean, you probably could tell us from the horse's mouth.
I think you didn't catch me right when I said we have an unusual situation these days. From January to date, we had an unusual situation. But talking about past experience, we tried really to mitigate them. But it's unfortunate that we didn't expect, though my colleague is saying that Meteo Rwanda told us that it would be heavy rain. But if you say in January or in December that you will be having heavy rain, you'll not have the Nyabarongo bridge in 1 month being ready for that heavy rain. You'll not have the catchment protection of Sebeya being ready for that heavy rain in 1 month. I think there are issues that we cannot do as magic.
So you want Meteo to warn you like 5 months in advance, 6 months in advance? This is what you're saying? It's hard to plan during that period?
No, I'm reacting on what we are talking about. I cannot say that Meteo Rwanda should tell us 1 year before. I cannot, I don't know. I'm not conversant with Meteo Rwanda right now. But what we do, we need to stop the effect, the direct effect that we can get. I mean, loss of life. That one is essential for us. The second part is infrastructure. We need to make sure that the infrastructure that we have can sustain heavy damages of rain. You know, so that's what we are talking about right now.
Okay, Dr. Bazimya, I mean, I would love to read your thoughts after that short exchange.
Well, reading my thoughts is common knowledge. As I started saying, we must understand what disaster means. It is an after effect. But the after effects can always be mitigated. Now, is it magic science that some of our Imidugudu villages are wrongly placed? Do we have a contingent plan saying village A, village B, village C, village 20 is likely to be washed if it rains heavily? Is it magic science that will tell us where the road has been poorly aligned? Is it possible that we can say, if it so happens to rain heavily, such a landslide will occur? And therefore, if any of the answers, or the answers are no, then something has gone basically wrong.
Something has gone wrong there, yeah.
And this something that has basically gone wrong is over the years. And it is multi-sectoral. It includes Midima, it includes Mininfra, it includes Rwanda Housing, it includes the districts, it includes the private. About this. Which institutions have been talking? several of them. But what have we done? Therefore, the talking is fine. The writing is on the wall. But what actions have been connected, concerted, and controlled by everybody?
Right. Do you have any specific areas where you seem to feel that action was not taken, that you want the PS here to respond to?
I mean, let's take Nyundo, which he said.
Yes.
It so happened that they received so much water. Did they do any filtering?
Okay. PS, did you?
Yes, we did.
And
what happened?
Recently, I think it was in March, we had heavy rain that occurred that time, and we had the Petit Seminaire of Nyundo, which was protected enough, but the école d'art was not protected enough. But this time, even the Petit Seminaire of Nyundo got affected. We thought it was protected. Now, what I would like probably to hear from him, we have a set of measures that we put up, but I'm not sure that you on your side, as an expert, you questioned the measures that the government had in place. I'm not sure. If we had, so that we can say, okay, we were wrong, then let us review. But I'm trying to see if you told us something that we didn't put into consideration. Let's assume that our technicians were not perfect, probably. I'm not sure. Then, could you help us?
See, when he asks that, I would say, did they do enough? He says, in March, Petit Seminary was not affected. The other part of the school was affected. This time, Petit Seminary was affected. My question is, did they do enough?
The question also he asked you is, where were you to help them with alternative ideas, alternative information as experts? I think this is what...
Doubt is,
Yes.
where is the concerted effort by different institutions into the event that happens?
Before even looking for your expert advice.
Yes.
I don't know. It's so unfortunate that we are trying to throw the ball on each other right now, and this is not the issue. What we would be having right now is to say, let us put all the efforts together, what you have, what we have as the Minister of Disaster Management, what other ministries have in terms of mitigating the disaster. Let us put together or on the table, and then we review them. Otherwise, right now, I'm not a good technician to tell you that I was right 100% and you are wrong. So I don't know how you can help.
Eugene,
Yes.
me wrong. Specifically the PS. I'm not saying he was wrong. I'm not saying Midimar was wrong.
What are you saying?
I'm saying they didn't do enough.
They didn't do enough. That is what you're saying. And
For example,
yes.
Then we were wrong if we didn't do enough.
no. You see, a strategy is an action in waiting. But now, if the villages were washed, if the roads were washed, if schools were overflooded, if Nyabugogo, which is in town here, is flooding annually and seasonally, have we done enough? Have we studied? Have we come up with concrete actions? Have we addressed the issue? The question is, he has touched on the budget. If we had all the money we have, there is in the world, can we solve the problem that's at hand?
You feel if you got the money, would it have solved the problem?
We could. We have currently a project, not in Midimar, but in infrastructure. We have a project of the catchment of the water from Kimisagara and up there that goes down to Nyabugogo and Nyabarongo. That's a plan that will take 5 years. Can you imagine? 5 years. It's on since last year. It will take 5 years. We cannot have that amount of money at once. Okay? We have many issues to consider when we are trying to solve that issue. That's one example. That's what we were talking about, budget. And timing, of course.
And the timing. Esther, I want to hear your thoughts again. I mean, based on what you hear, Dr. Bazimia says, I mean, it's a question of not doing enough. PS says, if you feel that our plans did not work as expected, we expected that someone else comes and actually gives us extra opinion or contrary opinion to help us deliver even better. This is what you're trying to say.
If so.
Yes, if so. The two parts of the coin, and he also says, I mean, it's not a time for blame game. I mean, what's your take on this?
What I believe is, in life, someone is always going to put a blame on someone else. And that's actually what is happening right here, because one is saying you could have done better, and someone else is, then you're saying we were wrong, and then this is going to go on and on and on and on. And actually, honestly, as a citizen, we don't care who was right or who was wrong. What we care is, in the end, what happened to me? Because while everyone is putting blame on someone else, then someone is losing life, someone is losing his property, someone is losing his crop, someone is losing his livestock.
Yes.
So I believe that when we're trying to talk about disaster, it's not a responsibility of one party. Because it's something that requires the cooperation, the collaboration between many sectors. And then if someone is saying we could have done better and someone else is saying we could have done better, why not talk of this even before the disaster itself happens? And then they say, we believe you have this role to play in this matter, and I believe you have this role to play in this matter. And then regarding our role, let's put together a concrete strategy to mitigate or to prevent the disaster before it happens. So really, it's discouraging for a normal citizen to see the people in charge putting blame on one another when what they had to.
Before you,
Yes.
at the end of it all, I wish Midimari would organize a national debate whereby all the interested parties and stakeholders would come and contribute to this debate and come up with a national strategy to address the possible occurrences of disasters.
Right. Would this be a solution? I mean, and why haven't we done this? And also, because at the end of the day, the people who work at Midimar and other partner institutions earn a paycheck at the end of the month for a job they're supposed to do. Now, in this sense that you've said that somehow, somewhere, the data you were given did not match the weight of the rains that came and it caught us or put us where we are today, what were the consequences for those people who failed to give you the right data that would have helped stop this disaster?
Let me come back. We have this abnormal situation today. That's what we are talking about. And it's a result of many issues of climate change and proper settlement, probably, and whatever.
So no one is going to be questioned. Why did you not do proper data?
I'm not the one to question. I'm not the one to question. I think we have the higher authorities of this country to question, even to question Midimar. What did you do? But back to what my colleague was saying, we have a set of frameworks that we have. We have a policy back 2012, which is under review. We have strategies, both for risk reduction and response and recovery. We have laws, and we have ministerial instructions. We have a set of instruments that not only Midimar worked on. We have infrastructure, we have Minagri, we have, I mean, the big stake is infrastructure with Rwanda housing and REG and whatever. We have all those stakeholders that we work together to come up with that policy, to come up with the strategy, to come up with the laws that have been passed, approved by the cabinet and passed by the parliament.
And he says they are there, but the problem is the action.
Now,
the implementation.
The implementation, I agree with you that somewhere someone didn't do something right. We are talking about the district of Nyarugenge with the Monkey Gully people. Someone was not really right to allow those people go there. So at the end of the day, much as we warned the district, much as we warned the city of Kigali that possible effect will be there, at the end of the day, unfortunately, we got people who lost their lives in Monkey Gully, Jabana, wherever. It is unfortunate. We are not talking about people who did what. We are really right now trying to say, let us reduce this effect. Every day we have to reduce. What we did last year, what we did 2 years ago, probably we didn't do much, but we did something. That's what we are trying to say. We did something. We have to put more efforts because this time we saw 215 people. It is too much. We have never encountered such a loss in previous years. Though my colleague here was saying in 2005 there was disaster. In 2000 we did mitigating factors during that time, but today we are having a heavy rain. I saw your introduction with Kenya, with Uganda. This is climate change. We couldn't foresee, though people were talking about climate change before, I think 10 years back.
Yes.
We couldn't foresee today, to that extent, what happened.
Right. Esther, do you think this is a time for all the relevant institutions to go back on the drawing board and re-strategize? Because he says there are a lot of strategies actually that are already there, but we keep seeing these numbers, these strategies coming. We don't know what would happen tomorrow because there's climate change, as he says. Is this time to actually go back on the drawing board and re-strategize, replan?
Yes, I believe that is actually what is necessary because apparently, if you are to be honest, the laws or the policies that are in place are not to be much of that advantageous to the people, because if they were that effective, then we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So if we are having this conversation, and as you kept saying, this could even happen because of climate change, then I believe it's high time that people in charge should go together, go somewhere and then say what happened, what went wrong, what went right. Then if we are to move forward, if we are to protect more lives in the future, then this is what we believe should happen right now.
Right. Yes. Dr. Bazimia, if Midima does not organize that national debate, that public debate, what are you going to do yourself or yourselves as the Rwanda urban planners in actually fixing this? I mean, are we going to still come back here and say, we didn't do enough? We did
See,
this?
it's unfortunate to ask me that.
Yes, yes.
If Midima doesn't do it, then who will? Are we waiting for the Prime Minister to do that? Are we waiting for the President to do that?
Can this be done by private sector? And then invite them?
Now, meteorology could do it. Rwanda Housing could do it. Any affected district could do it. So it does not require only one institution to organize it. Because if one institution organizes it, then it will be the sole owner.
They'll be sole owners.
The strategy.
Eugene, allow me to say something.
Yes.
It's a concerted effort.
It's a concerted effort. Yes, PS.
We are doing what he's saying.
Yes.
We are doing it. We are doing it since end of Feb and early March. We are having everyone on board on these issues. So you cannot say that we are not doing something, because even right now people are in offices trying to summarize everything that they have got on the terrain. So we are trying to do something, and we are doing something.
What have you learned? What have you learned from these deaths that have happened? as a ministry, what has been the lesson? As I go on the touch screen to read some of the tweets that we have from our viewers, what lessons has the ministry learned from these disasters that we've
to check again these the forecast?
Yes.
We have to try to get everyone on board and make sure that these effects in September, October, we don't have again these type of effects.
Right. So have you fired your teams that have been giving you data?
No.
You're not firing them?
No, we are not firing anyone.
So what if they give you wrong data again?
No, we are not saying that we got wrong data.
But it didn't work for you. The data they gave you did not work. It didn't help you.
It didn't help, I agree with you. But we cannot fire anyone.
Right.
The same way, if you have to fire everyone, we have issues like in Rutsiro or in Karongi. You will not move the whole district because the topography of that terrain is very bad.
It's very terrible.
You cannot move the whole district. Actually, we have 6 districts which are affected. We'll not move the whole, the 6 districts. It's impossible. So we have to look for other means.
Right, let's read some of this very quickly because we don't have much time. Right here from Butera 29 says there is urgent need to upgrade Meteo Rwanda. As of today, we still question the accuracy of data it provides, always vague. It is for us to handle this. Let's jump in ICT and develop our required tools to mitigate these disasters. We can make it. I mean, this is what Butera says. I've had some people say that today they hear that Meteo says it will rain, but it doesn't rain, and so they have failed to actually trust this institution. Sometimes they say it will not rain, and yet it rains heavily. What are we doing in this area?
Unfortunately, I cannot answer.
You can speak for them.
Meteo Rwanda, yes.
But then if you work together, you should be able to say in our board meetings, this issue was raised, and then this is what they decided to do.
Of course, we are noting.
Yeah, you're noting. Yes. Right, thank you for that. Let's look at this one right here from Alain Shuti. He says, when one hears a PS of ministry in charge of disaster management saying that we could not foresee heavy rain, we just had, because it's a climate change issue, you wonder if the lives of our people are in good hands. What would you tell this person? He feels like he's giving up. Their lives are not in good hands.
He shouldn't, and I agree, it's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. But
it's unfortunate that you're saying that, or it's unfortunate that...
No, it's unfortunate that we lost lives. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
What we have, the government is really taking its responsibility to not allow again more losses.
More losses. Like if we were signing in Bihigo, that would not happen again in another cycle of rains.
It's a joint effort.
It's a joint effort.
Because I cannot sign today.
But if you sign as Midimar in your capacity as PS, if you still be there, what would you say?
We are signing, and every one of my colleagues, they are signing to make sure that we make a broader awareness of the disaster effects.
Right. That is good. Awareness is very important. Can we read one more as we move towards the end of the program? We have one here from Nyandwi. Of course, he says, okay, Nyandwi, it just disappeared on you. Let me just quickly follow that hashtag again very quickly so that we can be able to on my ears saying that Amasa Yajeze, so that we can be able to quickly rush and see what we have right there. So the latest hashtag that we have right there, there we go. Yeah, we have it over there. 215 Rwandan lives lost, to be honest, respectively. This is what he says. Institutions and parties need to prepare to be prepared and stop playing catch up. This is what Peter says over there. Dr. Peter, as we go, you're parting short very briefly because we don't have much time to go.
A concerted, integrative effort to address the issue.
Concerted, integrated efforts. Esther, as we go?
I would say there is a need of cooperation between sectors to make sure
they
that
need to speak with one voice.
Yes.
Right, cooperation between sectors. PS, as we go, parting short, what do we tell the citizens, those who lost their relatives and those who seem to be wondering, where is Midimar? How do we deal with these issues? What would you tell them?
2 things. One, this will not happen again.
This will not happen again.
Make sure that this does not happen again. 2, we are calling on people in high-risk zone, with people in their habits. like for lightning, let's come back to high-risk zone. Please move out of those high-risk zone.
Right.
Because you cannot sustain your life
Right.
like that.
Talking
for
of
lightning,
yes,
it is very simple. Of course, we have the part of having all the houses, public places, having lightning arresters, and habits of the population. Of course, you
Right.
cannot go fetch rainwater during rain. Of course, you cannot go and hide yourself under the tree when it's raining. Those are habits that, of course, today, the heavy campaign that Midimar is making is having good results. But of course, at times, people do not understand.
people do not understand, and you say this will not happen again. Talking very briefly on the lightning arresters, there is a guideline, there is a recommendation, there is a requirement that every institution has this. As far as the churches, the homes, how are you implementing this? Because I mean, when you move around, you would see they're not there. I mean, some people feel that the implementation, the enforcement stage is a big problem.
We have guidelines and we have checks. And wherever we go on the terrain, all our people go to the terrain almost every week. We do make recommendations to local authorities, to heads of public institutions in the district, to make sure that they have lightning arresters.
To make sure they have lightning arresters. Of course, this is where we bring down the curtains to tonight's program. Keep those tweets coming. All you need to do is just add the hashtag InFocusRW. Of course, the conversation ends in this room, but of course it does continue on social media platforms. Let's keep talking and creating awareness amongst each other. The PSAs is a commitment from the ministry that this will never happen again. But of course, concerted efforts are needed, and all of us have a role to play. The ministry or the government will not be everywhere you are. You also have a role to play in these particular issues. So do it, because your life really does matter. I want to say thank you for watching on this Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there and mothers to be. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.